Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Welcome to Open Pike Night, the Strange New Worlds podcast where your personal logs are the prime directive. I'm your host, John T. Bolds, here tonight with some amazing guests on stage to discuss Episode 8 of Strange New Worlds Season 3, 4.5 Vulcans. An episode that has
a great deal of cheese.
Join us tonight as we try to walk a tightrope of hijinks over an alligator pit of subjectivity, all while making the worst plow meat soup ever. But of course, joining me are my co-hosts, the man who now has to learn to grow his bouffant 4.5 inches taller, Jesse Bailey.
I just learned about volumizing powder from the Pike's hair tutorial on Instagram. I didn't know that was a thing. I think that's going to be the key for me, is volumizing powder in addition to pomade.
Excellent. And the man who's been doing the work of 4.5 podcast hosts lately with all the great writer and director interviews for our Strange New Words episodes, host of Green Shirt, a newbie struck through the next generation, Cameron Harrison.
Aw, I had something snarky lined up to respond with, but that was kind of sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You have been kicking ass, man.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
I'm glad we have all kind of weird, funky work schedules because it has worked out so far to allow this to happen. Yeah. So once again, we had a ton of calls, 19 callers, a couple write-ins this episode. We are getting loaded up with opinions from our fantastic listeners and our fantastic patrons. So yeah, you guys want to get started off with a call tonight, or do you have any initial burning thoughts you have to get out?
Well, I mean, all the thoughts were pretty uniform on this one, right? Like, there's not a wide gap of thoughts on this episode, are there?
Yeah,
no. Everybody agrees.
Yeah, okay.
Fun, funny, not harmful in any way.
Nope. Absolutely elicits no emotions whatsoever in anybody. So, let's go ahead and hear from our first caller. Here is Mariah.
Hey, Open Bike Night. It's Mariah. Oof. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what to do with this episode. I really wanted to like it, and I didn't like it. I feel like at some point I was like, ooh, it's like they're on a drug trip, because Pelia was talking about doing LSD or something, and then it was like all 4 of the Vulcans were having weird trips. But then it just got like, what the hell happened with Una? I'm so confused. I know it was supposed to be funny, but it just felt weird. And then there was like the weirdly profound modern dance in Laon's mind space. And why were there whales? I don't know, man. Maybe it was just a drug trip. Did anyone else actually see this episode? Did I just have an accidental drug trip? Seriously, what happened? All right, thanks, guys.
Well, Mariah, I'm glad you called because you were at the right place. We are going to explain exactly what happened. Don't worry. But yeah, guys, this is the one with the whales, right?
It does have whales. We finally get cetacean ops, and it's a freaking mind palace.
And I have to wonder, like, is there a reason for that? Like, other than, wouldn't it be fun to put whales in that water? Like, because, you know, as a Trekkie, I'm like, there shouldn't be whales on the ship yet. The whole voyage home hasn't happened. But the other thing about Laon's mind in particular is that it has had some timey-wimey things happening with it, a la her trip back in time to prevent a catastrophe, and we know that changed the timeline at least a little bit because it changed the date of the Third World War, and like all these incursions seem to have messed with the timeline. So here's my answer. I think they did it because they thought it would be cool. But my rationalization Trekkie side is like, maybe it's because that changed the past and now there are whales? I don't know. I think because it is a mind palace, any answer you come up with is okay. Maybe Laon just really likes whales.
Well, I know that Laon, they say, is not a legacy character, but it actually turns out that she becomes the probe from Voyage Home. She's just really into whales. She does whale songs to sleep, and
there you go.
At some point, she goes off and evolves into a giant probe.
I don't know where you guys are getting your research materials from, but obviously you're forgetting that she spent time on Gorn ships, and Gorn obviously have cetacean ops too, because they're
that
warp-capable species. So yeah, Gorn whales. That's what it was.
Gorn
That
whales.
makes good sense.
Yeah.
Baloo Gorn. Anyway, though, to address, the elephant in the room here. So, Mariah, I want you to know, glad to have you on the stage again. We love hearing from folks that have taken little breaks from calling in when real life has gotten in the way, and it's good to have you back as always. But this is kind of a wider point that I want to make. This isn't pointed at anyone in particular. This is just a thing that I feel I should say out loud, because it's kind of, I don't know what the word is for it, but I've stated many times that I love people having differing opinions on this episode and every episode. They should all be voiced. They should all be listened to. That's part of what I love about Open Pike Night. What's driving me crazy is that the people who are saying that liking or not liking this episode is tantamount to endorsing the worst possible read of its intent. Believe the people who tell you this episode hurt them without trying to convince them it didn't, and believe the people who tell you they liked it without telling them they shouldn't. That's all I have for that whole thing. So I'm very excited to hear what everybody has to say, because I know that we have the second kind of callers, the kind of callers that voice their opinions without shaming other people for theirs.
I also love that you pointed out the drug trip. Not only is the LSD line hilarious from Pelia is just hilarious. This whole episode, she's drunk in that ready room scene when she's trying to give Pike high fives. I don't know. I'm here for it. I love it. But I hadn't really picked up that, that dropping the LSD, to coin a phrase, in that scene, it's probably the writer telling us, hey, just go with this. These characters are basically on a drug trip. And so I like that read, Mariah. I think it works.
Yeah.
Well, and it fits because drug trips, I've been told, are different for everybody. Even if you took the same drug at the same time in the same room, people will have very different subjective experiences with that. So let's kick off our drug trip tonight about this episode.
Heck yeah. Now, Mariah is just one of many, many, many callers we had for this episode, and we did do some montages again this time. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody who's going to be part of our montage calls tonight. Here we go.
Hi everybody, Mags here with my thoughts on 4.5 Vulcans.
Hey, Open Pike. Abby Summer from the First Flight podcast. Here we go.
Hey, Open Pike. It's Matt from the Prove It To Me podcast.
Hi, Lieutenant Lucy from London reporting on episode 8.
Hi guys, here's Melanie.
Hi, Open Pike Night, Engineer Mark here, and it's 4.5 Vulcans.
This is Michi, and what can I say about too many Vulcans? That would be the perfect title for it.
Ahoy hoy, Open Pike Night. Que sera sera here. Consider that greeting a content warning.
Hey, Open Pike Night, this is Palladium3 calling in with my hit shits and giggles.
What's up, guys? It's Sincera, co-host of the Battle Stage Theatrica podcast.
Newman the Space Hippie here from the Movies for Days podcast. In the words of the great Justin Long, we have no time for pleasantries. Let's get into it.
Open Pike Night. This is the USS Cinema. Zoe Richardson, Captain Commanding, also host of Backlick Cinema, the podcast.
You weren't kidding, John. There's a lot of voices
Some
tonight.
of these montages are pretty long, too, but people had thoughts about this episode. Yeah, so it's interesting what people called in about and what people didn't talk about, but a lot of this... there's some stuff about the situation, about the plot and everything, but it is really character calls through and through this time. So I'll let you guys pick which which group of characters do you want to talk about first?
Let's do the 4 Vulcans. Let's get the titular one out of the way.
Yep, let's do it. Here we go.
Regarding the fake Vulcans, I feel like they were playing caricatures of Vulcan and not necessarily real Vulcan, but that really made it funnier, and I really delighted in that. And this is especially goes for Anson Mount. I feel like he was really laying it on thick.
I really liked the callback with La'an and Pike both knowing about Romulans.
What an awesome treat getting to see both Corbs dumped and Boytegas brainwashed in the same episode. I mean, that's just masterpiece theater right there.
And I think also a very interesting dive into the shadow psyches of each other 4 guinea pigs. Anson, for once, I think, wasn't completely unsung. He was at times slightly more Dalek than Vulcan. But I'll let him off because the opening credits were an absolute joy.
I also would like to see the outtakes of how many times Anson getting super close to Babs in sickbay made them both just break down and laugh, because you can see Babs just barely containing it.
Uhura, I know there's been a lot of about what she did to Beto. Beto's a grown-ass man. I've had relationships where I've had to do so much of the heavy lifting of communicating, and it's exhausting. You beat yourself up because it seems like you just can't find the way to get through. And it's awful. And I wish I could mind meld with these folks to help them understand.
So our 4 new Vulcans were amazing. The intro narration was so good and so different from Anson's warm and usual version. Chris is totally going overboard with cleaning his quarters and telling both Marie and Spock they smell.
I still think Neo deserves better than Beto, and I would not date him after the documentary last week, but I really like that it let the relationship they both have with Erica shine through a little bit.
But as always, Chris was the standout. Just the hilarity. I can't even. The part at the end where he covered his ears and said he'd made such terrible choices. Howling.
As I mentioned before, my wife watches the show with me. There was an interesting turn of events when Pike went Vulcan, and especially when he started speaking in the opening narration. She looked up at the screen and said, "I hate that, and I hate him now." But she always thinks that he's super handsome and a very hot silver fox. So congratulations, Strange New Worlds. You've done the impossible. You made my wife hate Captain Pike, and that makes you mighty.
Nice Firefly reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much. Well, let's just talk about the transformation scene real quick.
Yes.
Because we've seen it before in the teaser, of course, and I think a lot of people have talked about how in the greater context it worked more for them. But just the physical comedy on display there, it's a masterclass. Pike mounts little arm jerk, and the big swing he does.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Everything Pelia does is amazing. I mean, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. And just the counting down, and then of course, and one. And it's like
the fact that they did it one after the other in the order she injected them. It's simply amazing. I still cannot forgive the hair. I'm sorry, but no serum can change the style of your hair or the braids or the gel in it. But I know that's a Star Trek trope, so I'm not going to let it ruin my enjoyment of this episode.
That was the most offensive part of the episode to Cameron.
100%. You're not even wrong.
Oh, this whole opening makes no sense. I mean, obviously it is a farce.
Look, there is the Strange New Worlds takes a lot of big swings.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest hand wave of the series, I feel. Setting up this. One, they say why can't humans go down? I don't really understand, but they're like, why can't they just look like Vulcan? Anyway, there's 3 Vulcans nearby. There's Doug, Pasalk, and Spock. Could they not have all gone down? Why is Spock not part of the away team to begin with? He's like the replacement when Pelia can't go. That doesn't make any sense. Just the fact that they cut to medbay and Chapel is explaining how she made the serum seconds before injecting it into people. Their plan A was to use this experimental interdimensional alien serum on for the first time with the crew as guinea pigs. It doesn't make sense. So you just have to ask yourself, is the squeeze worth the juice? And for me with this episode, it absolutely is.
And then they're walking down the hall, like you called it earlier, the Guardians of the Galaxy shot down the hall. We have some out of place, out of time music. What is their mission? Just tell me, what was their mission?
To fix the nuclear power plant.
Why are they all fully armed?
Because that's how Vulcans show up on this planet. That's why.
Swinging weapons around, carrying rifles.
That's a Lirpa, right?
Yeah, there's a Lirpa. There's phaser rifles. I'm like, what? Aren't you going to repair their Chernobyl? I've watched that miniseries. There wasn't.
They actually had to kill multiple of these aliens, the Tazarians.
That's the reason it went so fast, is because the entire staff of that power plant is dead now.
They actually beamed down. They're like, "You're not actually Vulcans, are you?" And so they chopped all their heads off, and so it's all for naught anyway.
Well, and I personally got the feeling that they really wanted to use Calm Like a Bomb by Rage Against the Machine for that scene, but couldn't get the rights to that or didn't want to shell out. So they're like, okay, let's put something that kind of sounds like it there. I mean, I may re-edit it with that song because I think it fits perfectly. Like, all of these Vulcan characters are calm like a bomb. And I think for me, what makes it work is that it's not that they are all acting the same way. It's like they're all acting as their most emotional selves, which is kind of the gist here. It's that they're feigning logic when really they don't know how to control their emotions because they haven't had years and years of Vulcan training. They just have this sudden genetic change that makes their ears pointy. So they're like, well, I know Spock speaks in kind of a monotone and he talks about logic a lot, so I'll do that. And I think that kind of fits with what Zoe was saying. Like, they felt like caricatures of Vulcans because they're not truly Vulcans. They're humans that have been transformed.
And I guess that's where I'm really confused with some folks' reaction. I guess we'll get to some serious stuff. Some folks' reactions, and some callers even, but people are like, okay, so they explain it because somehow Spock's experiences are shaping the serum and how it works. And I guess the way I took that to mean was Spock's experiences being bullied as a child are what went into this serum. These aren't facets of Spock that we're seeing. These are what child Spock saw as the worst, most like outrageous examples of different parts of Vulcans. The overbearing Pike, the nonstop studying Chapel, who, boy, really kind of gets swept to the side in this episode. Sorry, Chapel.
But her scenes are really funny.
Yeah, the thought, the mind. What is it? The Surak studying Uhura. It's like these are extremes. These are. I took it as Spock. This is what he internalized and thought he was experiencing when it was at his worst for him growing up.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't explain it. It's a hand wave again. Like they don't really even settle is the logic part genetic or learned. I mean, I've always taken it that it's at least somewhat genetic. That you ask 90% of people what a Vulcan is, and they'll say, "Oh, they're super logical." Like that's what most people just quickly associate with Vulcans. And so I took it more as like they got hit with this super logical mind, but they didn't have the experience of growing up and learning how to use that in a society where you can't just be super cold and logical all the time. You have to let some of those emotions in. So they're just overdoing it. They're way to the extreme of even Vulcans. It's kind of like how Worf out Klingons a Klingon kind of in a way.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with John that it was Spock's internalized experience of growing up on Vulcan because like we have seen a lot of examples of Vulcans being pretty racist.
Yeah.
Like especially toward humans.
The Tell calls one out on that in this episode.
Right, and especially towards Spock, right? Like in the Star Trek 09 movies, they're like, you have a disability, and he's like, live long and prosper. So it's like, to me, like it fits, but you're not incorrect, Cameron, that it is a hand wave. And it's actually a hand wave on top of another hand wave because they're using the Kirkovian serum that was already essentially indistinguishable from magic because it was so air quotes advanced.
100%.
And now they're taking that one step further. There are parts of me that are like, why do we have to hand wave? But like when I was watching your interview with the writers of this episode, Henry and Dana, it's so clear that Henry is like, his mandate for himself is, I want to have fun with this thing I am doing. And to him, Vulcan body swap episodes are the most fun thing there is.
Clearly.
So like I'm okay with it. I can forgive the hand wavy nature of that in particular.
Yeah, I would have loved less, but again, at some point you make a decision. Am I going with this? And with many Star Trek episodes, right? Like a lot of Star Trek episodes use a hand wave. Some I can get past, some I can't. This one I can. I'm not blaming anyone who can't.
Yeah.
But 100%, I mean, Anson Mount's Pike is amazing. He does more Like, he has some funny lines, but just his facial acting, he has reaction shots. Like,
Yeah.
anytime... There's also a part where he nods to I think Mbenga when Chapel says something like, well, I'm a Vulcan, so I can do this faster. And he's like, that's right, you can.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, the listeners pointed this out, but when I realized that we were going to get 4 very different Vulcans or 4 very different stories and how you would apply that ultra logic to them is when I really glommed onto this episode. So when it just became like Better Homes and Garden Vulcan Pike is when I was like, okay, 100% here for this. Oh, yeah. Workaholic Chapel, 100%. Oh, a toxic relationship, toxic girlfriend Uhura. This is the only time you're ever going to see that version of her. I'm here for it. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question. One more serious, one less. I'm going to go with less serious. Pikes, don't they have cleaning phasers? I mean, come on. Why is he using a spray bottle to clean? It's just the future, don't they? They got to have something like cleaning phasers, right? You just and like every biological thing is off that counter.
It's called a Barian sweep.
Yeah,
and Captain Picard had
true.
a very close run-in with one, and they
either
have not invented them yet, or they're like, let's not do that right now.
That's true.
There's actually like an oxidizing odor though, and his Vulcan nostrils were just.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, I'll ask my other question then. Do you think that Uhura and everybody has seen the documentary yet?
Right, I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like it's taking place that long after those events.
No.
Yeah.
And to that point, it kind of feels like maybe Uhura should still be angry at Beto, like not willing to give it another shot.
That's why I think I got the impression, he's still working on the documentary. It's not done yet. It has not aired.
Oh, I feel like it's all shot, but it hasn't aired. Yeah.
True. Yeah. But
I feel like those events have transpired.
Yeah, so she should still be mad at him for the ambush.
I still am.
She forgave him by the end of that episode.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, this episode.
She's apologizing to him at the beginning, though. It's like, wait, what's going on? Or by the end of the episode, she's apologizing.
Well, yeah,
to
but
him.
she did like mind rape him, so
yeah.
with his permission. But I mean, this is partly because of that. This is the first episode where I'm really turning around and warming up to Beta. Like, I'm like, I kind of like him now. 1, because he's the one getting put upon. 2, because we're learning more about his and Erica's relationship, and I think there's just some really great like sibling stuff coming through with them. Like, Erica doesn't get a lot to do in this episode, but her scenes talking about her brother are super sweet and really nice. And it's just funny that up till this point I've been more warm towards Corby than I have towards Beto, and this episode they're finally kind of like getting equal in my mind.
Good.
Do you think Beto is the boyfriend chameleon? Like, he's suddenly pretending, actually, I'm really into linguistics and Starfleet protocol because he knows that's what Uhura's into? Or is he like...
a little bit,
Or is he just submissive and like, knows that he screwed up, so he's like, I gotta fix this.
Yeah, I think that's probably... I mean, like Erica says, he likes making the people he cares about happy. And I mean, as the boyfriend who's probably like... changed myself for a toxic girlfriend before, I can relate with that pretty hardcore.
So yes is the answer. Okay.
Yes is the answer.
I appreciate your honesty.
I do love also for Corby, like, let's also point out, like, he is not too far gone yet because he gets broken up with seemingly out on some exotic archaeological dig because he is in like the Indiana Jones backlot set from Universal Studios in that video call, and he shows up within like a day or two to repair things with Chapel. So he is still super into her and willing to forego whatever work he's doing.
I also think it illustrates that he's very impulsive.
Yeah, that too. Also, in an episode full of hilarious facial expressions, his facial expression when Spock tells Chapel her soup is shit might be my favorite of all the facial expressions in this episode. Just the downward stare with the wide eyes.
But also when Spock walks in on her breaking up with him is so funny. He's just like, what happened? Like, there's just that little bit of hope and excitement, and then realizing like, wait, it doesn't matter, I'm already with someone else. But it's so funny.
Yeah All right, well, let's go ahead and hear from another caller. Here is our buddy Isaac.
Hello, Open Pikers. It is Isaac from the Trek 365 podcast. Straight after watching 4 1/2 Vulcans. And look, I have to say, first of all, this is my favourite episode of this season so far. But there are two things that we need to talk about. Firstly, Jim Kirk says to Scotty, we are now on first name basis, but he calls him Scotty. Now, I know I'm a nerd because I like Star Trek and stuff, but actually, his first name is Montgomery. He doesn't call him Montgomery or Monty or any other versions, even Big M, which I wouldn't choose. I'd go with Monty myself. But the second thing is, guys, don't let the fun, laughing nature of this episode hide the fact that you've just watched an episode of Star Trek called Tuvix. This is absolutely Tuvix Part 2. They are changed. They don't control changing back. It's Tuvix. It's a fun Tuvix, but it's Tuvix all the same. All right, love your work, guys. See you next time. Stay bold and stay beautiful. Love you.
Aw. Thanks, Isaac. Two things. Motion to, from now on, refer to Scotty as Monty and see how long it takes people to catch on.
Not Big M?
And this, no, Monty is better.
All right.
And, I mean, I'm really glad they cut the scene at the end of this where all of these transformed characters beg not to be murdered, because that would have really messed with the comedy vibes of the episode. But he makes a good point about the Tuvix of it all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know yet, but stay tuned.
Oh, spoiler
Green
alert.
Shirts getting me into Voyager sometime later this
sometime
year.
in the next 3 or 4 years, Cam will know what Tuvix means. Yeah.
And Cameron saw the Lower Decks episode Tuvix,
Right.
Yeah.
so he knows how the episode goes.
Okay. My understanding of it is different than this episode, so we'll see.
It is.
Yeah. Also, Isaac, cheers to your American nerd accent. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
pretty damn spot on. Yeah.
Really good. And
I thought it was Jesse talking for a second.
I'm also going to say, I need a shirt now that says American Nerd. I'm also going to say, like, if you've not listened to Trek 365, it's a Star Trek podcast that comes out every day and is 365 seconds long. Like, it's a great little light spot in every day of your life. Go check it out.
Absolutely. All right. Who do we want to talk about next? How about Kirk and Scotty? How about our
Yes.
side characters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's keep it a little lighthearted first. All right, here we go. There's some Pelia in here, too.
All right. Shit. Damn it, Sam Kirk. How the hell did they leave you out of the hand-wavy hijinks episode? Guess you and I'll just need to catch up this Christmas. Also, Boytega's shithood list gets another tally with his dislike of showers. Really? Showers? I mean, I guess this kind of answers the question of why he and Ahura haven't gone on a real date in all these months.
Pelia was great as always, and I even enjoyed seeing Jim Kirk again. Paul Wesley is growing on me, and his scenes with Scotty were perfection. Although, I do wish Sam Kirk was there.
Hits. Woohoo! There was a Mitchell sighting. And yay, Pelia and Scotty are back, and both are out of this world hilarious this episode. Loved the James Kirk return to deal with the Romulan with Scotty. A lot of great buddy moments there.
And her interactions with Kirk and Scotty are brilliant.
Pelia and the others conspiring on how to get the four Vulcans to turn back. It was so good. And yeah, I don't know why Kirk was there, but the way Scotty took out Romulan, I loved it.
One wee thing, please. I know the Enterprise is going to be Kirk's, but it's not right now, so could we maybe see just a little bit less of him?
Is it just me, or has Kirk gotten punched several times on the Enterprise? He keeps coming back. The man's a glutton for punishment. I don't know.
Okay, so I was kind of hoping there would be a second on-screen drug trip when everybody met in Pelia's quarters. It really had that 70s show vibes of them sitting on couches, all facing each other in a circle. I was like, come on. Like, Pelia would immediately, like, just suggest it, right? She would pull out a pipe or something and be like, anybody? No? Okay, all right, cool. That's against regulation.
You don't
Like,
mind
they
if
didn't
I
have
do.
to actually do... Yeah, exactly. Don't mind if I do. Like, I
was
kind of hoping for it.
She says, I don't want people to know... What's her line? Like, 'cause when she talks about, like, there's no security there, who or what I'm doing stuff with? Like, what is she getting up to?
Yeah. Well, also the fact that at one point when they come in to have a meeting and we get the joke of Pelia with the 42-minute shifts are killing me, Una's just standing there watching Pelia sleep.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the way that scene is staged,
Oh,
Una's
really?
just standing there staring at Pelia's bed till somebody else walks in behind her.
She's like, is she going to be up for her 42-minute shift? I don't want
Yeah,
to have
exactly.
to report this to Vulcan Pike.
This is more ammo, and my Una's a bad captain gun, and we are still in a fight.
I
have
just
not
love
forgiven her.
that it implies like they're just using her quarters, like they're just walking in and out as they please at this point. It's
pretty
their
much,
little,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Dumbledore's army space.
And to your earlier point, Cameron, if Kirk is there, the Farragut is there. The captain of the Farragut is a Vulcan. Why could she not go
Vulcan!
in?
I mean, they never say what the timeline is or how many, why they need a certain. Again, they know they're hand waving and they're getting through it as fast as possible.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah.
But yeah, Michelle, 100% with you. Like when I saw Kirk beam on, I was, another Kirk already. I was hoping we were just going to have like the one real Kirk episode this season. But this was my favorite subplot. I could watch a whole movie with a subplot. Him and Scotty and La'an together was so good. I loved how La'an is like just off in her own movie from everyone else and not aware of it and so full of confidence that she can just talk about it to everyone and assuming they'll get on board with her. And just Kirk and Scotty's like two very different reactions to that. And Kirk's just like, let's see what happens. Let's just ride this for a little bit. Like that whole attitude. Oh my God, it's so good, guys. It's so... La'an is so funny. This episode is so funny.
Yes, she is. Yes.
Also, I love that Kirk is like, you know what? That really hot security chief threw herself at me, and I said no. I know there was a lot of singing going on, so I was a little distracted. I should go back and try to hook up with that. I'm going to say I'm going back for Sam, but I'm going to ask immediately if we can hang out with La'an. Like, there's some... He's got some game going, some Kirk game happening.
Yeah.
I really like Scotty's explanation of the entire thing. Like, I just figured La'an is scary, and La'an is still scary. Like, I would love to see more interactions between those two characters because he is clearly terrified of her on a regular day.
I know. I wanted to see a little more of that build up in earlier episodes, but I also buy it immediately.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was definitely, it is interesting when you break it down into all the different storylines. It's like, no, that one's hilarious. No, that one's hilarious. That one's hilarious. Okay, that one's really kind of morally questionable, but then we're right back to hilarious. So, yeah, it is, I guess, and we'll get there. We're circling around the discourse, but it's like it really does come down to identity and different split identities and how people are internalizing that, I guess, with all of these episodes in Strange New Worlds.
And I want to thank Platy for using Ramula An's real name.
Yeah, yes,
because
exactly.
The first time I wrote that down, I was like, oh, that's funny. And then when Cameron spoke to the writers, it turns out they thought that was so funny that was what was in the script and it had to be taken out because it felt not serious enough.
Dana Horgan will thank you also, Platy, for continuing it on and bringing life to it outside the writer's room.
Absolutely.
Also, Platy, you make a good point because... I can sort of understand people who don't like showers because they don't like getting wet. Like it's a bother, right? You got to get naked, you get wet, dry off. You're never really dry right away. They have sonic showers. What is stopping you, Beto? Just go stand under the sonic shower. Also,
Are you supposed to get naked for a shower?
Well, unless you're never nude.
Never nude, yeah. Yeah.
No comment.
Also, Scotty trying to be cool for Kirk will not get old.
Yeah, no, it is fun, and it seems like a natural way. It's like, okay, they're laying groundwork here that people really want to see, and it's just the right amount of groundwork. It's just the right amount of, hey, you remember how much you love these two guys working together, in 60 years ago? Here they are, starting to meet each other, so... Mm-hmm. And liking, it's like, they were button heads last time we saw them together, now they're working together, and it is a good growth. It is well structured.
Actually a really good point that it's kind of a continuation of their last time together where he wasn't able to take input and work on a plan with people, and now he goes straight to the person who he knows he asked the most of in that instance and says, how can I help? Like, that's a really good point I hadn't considered.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I've done that with managers too, where like I'll give them shit because I don't think they're doing something right, but then I'm like, fuck, they're still my manager, and I want when I give them shit to count. So then, like, I kind of suck up for a while afterwards. And I'm like, okay, look, I know you're my manager. If I'm going to talk back to you, it's for a real reason. So I'm going to be extra nice now.
Right. Yeah.
I want you to listen when I talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, poor Chapel storyline really gets swept under the rug or just pushed to the side by a lot of these. But we did have a new caller, who wrote in this time. Hannah, welcome to the Open Pike Night stage, writes, when Nurse Chapel invites Spock and Roger over for some peace offering soup, so weird. I think it was meant to be a lighthearted bonding moment between the three of them because the soup was terrible and they could all laugh about it. But it was just awkward. Even standing in the room together, it seemed like a tight space and just an uncomfortable moment. Then, in this tight space, Roger and Nurse Chapel kiss, and Spock is just standing there, like, and then the open mouth eye emojis. Apologizing to them both at the same time in the same way was an interesting choice. Apologizing to a friend by inviting them over to your place for a home-cooked meal seems very intimate to me. Just make them the food, package it up, and gift it to them. Still a very sincere gesture. For apologizing to a significant other, I think a home-cooked meal at your place is a great idea. Even though she's apologizing to both of them for the same reason, boyfriend versus friend, it should be done differently. So anyways, the whole scene makes me think of the song You and Me and Steve by Garfunkel and Oates from Roger, for the Roger POV. I think that's a great song pick.
I mean,
it is.
It is very true. Like, it's sweet, but you're right. Like, that's your ex-boyfriend and your new boyfriend. And then, like, you're telling your ex-boyfriend, like, I think I finally get you. Chapel, you are all about sending mixed signals.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she mixes signals like she mixes serums. But she has, like, I feel like it's an attempt on her end to approach this like a very mature person and, like, demand maturity from the other two at the same time.
Yeah, I
like,
think that's how it plays.
Spock, I'm going to kiss him in front of you. You need to be okay with that. Corby, I'm inviting him to our dinner. You need to be okay with that. Like, I don't disagree that it feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a show that's shot very wide, big open spaces, a huge Enterprise, giant palatial quarters. This may be the tightest looking scene. Like, this looks like it could come out of TNG, where everybody was filming for that old aspect ratio.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a choice, and I agree. It's a little weird, and this is not a strategy that I would employ had I, like, messed up with a woman that I work with and my wife. I would not invite them both to the same dinner that I just cooked and apologize at the same time.
Especially if it's a woman you dated. Again, it's not just a friend. Let's not leave that context out of this.
Yeah.
And I guess what felt weird about it to me, yes, it was an awkward situation with that, but I'm like, but that was a little bit of the Chapel storyline we saw, was the cutting off relationships. Like, she also was doing a ton of, like, groundbreaking experiments, right? Like, we don't get any resolution on those. And like, oh, by the way, 7 science institutes have called and said they want to talk to you about what you were doing for the last day and a half. You know, some kind of joke there too would have felt, or, you know, having that be brought into this conversation. But again, with Corby's facial expression when Spock calls out the soup, the way she apologizes, I'm so sorry, is brilliantly delivered, brilliantly written, and yeah, Jess Bush really brings the, like, oh my god, I made a terrible mistake.
I mean, her expression when she tastes the soup is pretty comedic gold too.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the Vulcan Chapel. Like, is it saying that deep down Chapel doesn't want to have personal relationships and would rather just do science? Because that's not the Chapel that we've come to know.
But that's what the logical Chapel would say. Well, relationships don't matter as much. That's what she's saying. Only science matters in the long run.
Yeah.
I think I get that, but to me that doesn't read as Chapel.
Again, if what they're doing is pushing away the emotions, she's going to push away emotional connections.
But I think the rest of them are embracing their overwhelming emotions without realizing it.
Well, they all react to it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I have yet to have a moment in this show where I feel somebody has been out of character. This might be the closest I've gotten to it, is this Chapel. But like, I don't think that part landed for me quite as well as the rest of it personally.
Yeah. I do love Spock saying he was early, Corby was on time. Just that little snide mark. Again, that's like that, like, buddy bromance with him and Corby I want to see more of. And I just thought of split peace offering soup. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Well, with that, I mean, we either have to move on to Una and Doug or Battelle. So
let's build up to Una and Doug.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with Battelle.
All right, here we go. Here is Battelle.
Marie going off was fantastic, and that sorbet does sound wretched.
Props to Battelle all the way around in dealing with two of them.
I loved the inappropriate hair remark.
All right, we even got our bald bastard Vulcan back to promote Marie to the head of Space Jag. But I mean, we all saw that coming a light year away. Who else was going to head up the Judge Advocate Gorn office?
Big ups. Had to almost stand up and cheer when Battelle gave the what for to both Vice Admiral Orlok and Captain Pike. They totally deserved it. I wish I could do the same to some folks I deal with. I was watching this while it was working. Good for her.
Had to deal with the situation, from dealing with Captain Pike's double cleaning of her already immaculate cleaning job to his newfound friendship with her boss that we all hate. Yes, we do. We were there during season 2. And seeing her handle that in such a human way that and ended up working out for her, which was surprising, and thankfully it worked out for Captain Pike, and the locks on his quarters doors were not changed by the end of that.
Poor Marie. I would have gone nuts with both Pike and Pasek during the dinner.
Okay. First of all, I want to give props to Kay Sarah for watching this at work. That is very cool and very punk. I hope
props to Melanie for sending her call in while at the swimming pool with her kids on vacation. That's dedication.
Which you can hear in the background, and I love that.
I think it's interesting. The Battelle storyline has been slowly working its way forward through this season, and I think when all is said and done with season 3, I think my word to describe it might be balanced. Like, it strikes a really good balance of pushing story and characters forward without feeling like it's got an agenda. It doesn't feel like we're being driven somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's just like, there's been a weird season for everybody, but life is still going on, and I think it really feels like life is still going on in these episodes.
Mm-hmm. And I know we've talked a lot about will Battelle's plot end with her dying or a breakup or this, that, or the other thing. I don't think we expected it to end up here. Like, you're getting a promotion. You're going to lead the JAG office. Like, that completely caught me off guard. Like, I was glad to see that. And I think Pasalk is a great example of how bad at being Vulcan the rest of our characters are, right? Because he is somebody we hate, to Steve's point. We do not like this character. He felt very prejudiced in the episode that we saw him in season 2. But here, he takes a measured reaction to the information and the emotional outburst, and he mulls it over, and then he comes back with his decision, and it's surprising. I think it's cool to see, and it's cool to see him acknowledge, like, yeah, you're right. I should not have been that way. I think you're the kind of mind we need for this.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole thing of, like, look, Star Trek has shown Vulcans to be kind of jerks a lot. Like, that's been a lot of their portrayal throughout all of Star Trek. But we've also seen a lot of nice Vulcans, and we see a jerky Vulcan like Pasalk has more to him than that. We've seen, T'Pring's dad versus her mom, maybe one was a bigger jerk than that. Also in this episode where we see a lot of the tropey Vulcan nature of these characters, the way they're going so far, it is nice to see the more subtle Vulcan stuff, like the sorbet is satisfactory. And then Pike's just very small, but very assured grin at that. I love that little Vulcan stuff too, just as much as the big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you follow in the footsteps of those who go before you. So Admiral A.J. Chegwin, he was a gruff and stern boss, but he kept Harmon Rabb in line and Sarah McKenzie. But hey, sometimes they had to go off the reservation and do things their own way to solve a murder case that maybe Harmon was accused of every season. But hey, you never know. You might find your protege among the ranks, and Battelle is a good choice.
And Pike taking that second sorbet was very Pike. I love that moment.
I'm suddenly aware that if John and my dad hung out, they would probably have a lot to talk about. Like, that's pretty cool. But, I mean, we also have... Could we describe Doug as the opposite of Pasalk here? Like, he is so far in the other direction. He is the, like, American anime fan of Vulcans, but he's a fan of humans, right? Like, and it was weird to me that I love that they picked Una. I loved getting to see a new side of Una. I loved all their scenes together. Sort of weird that he seems to, like, be really into Una and human culture when Una is not human. Like,
but does he know that?
It's not mutually exclusive, obviously, and she is a part of mostly human culture. It was a tiny little disconnect where I was
it's
like,
not
oh,
just
this
the
is
culture,
why...
Jesse. It's not just the culture.
Right. But my point was like, oh, this is why he's into humans. And then I was like, wait, Una is not technically human. I mean, she's human presenting, right? Which is
all right. I guess we're going to relitigate season 2, episode 2 now.
No, I think it's meant to comment on the whole like theme of this episode, right? Human presenting versus human, Vulcan presenting versus Vulcan. My guess is that it's some sort of commentary on that, but I couldn't quite pick it up because I loved watching her melt every time Doug was on screen. I was like, whoever's idea this was, I like it. I think this is a good idea.
Well, that sounds like a perfect transition to our next group of calls.
Yeah. Here are our callers' thoughts about Una and Doug.
And Una and her secret on-off love interest was just a delight.
Patton Oswalt is an absolute vision in this role of Doug. And it's such a gift for Spock to talk to someone who actually values his humanity and is in fact jealous of his humanity.
And the post-credits scene was just like cotton candy. Sweet, unnecessary, but a wonderful treat.
I enjoyed seeing Una focused on more, and her scenes with Patton Oswalt were hilarious.
And Patton Oswalt, dude, there is no holding back here. You can't not know Patton Oswalt. If you ever pictured him as a Vulcan, this is exactly what it should look like. And they didn't miss a beat here. If you bring in Patton Oswalt as a Vulcan, he has to be fascinated by things that other Vulcans are not. He must have a super corny, passionate, and borderline disturbing romantic history with Una, of all people, one of the most attractive, disciplined, straight as an arrow executive officers that Starfleet probably has at the moment. I mean, as writers, you have to lean into that with everything you have, and it was fantastic to watch.
And, of course, Patton Oswalt was a delight in all his scenes, pre- and post-credits.
I love Doug. He and Una, oh man, that was fun and so good. Una and Spock lying to him was absolutely hilarious. And his and Spock's discussion about humans in the end, awesome.
Big ups to Rebecca Romaine for just rocking this episode in every way, shape, and form. Never any doubts, of course. This was always in her wheelhouse. And her final dress and the boots, I just can't.
For my favorite moment, it has to be Doug and Una. Maybe equally so Doug and Spock in the end credits. For someone who was known as Where Fun Goes to Die, was glad to see that she does find happiness with Doug to offset that first officer seriousness. Then Doug and Spock riffing on humanity, that was oh so hilarious. I hope we see more of him or his family and their positive appreciation.
Patton Oswalt, it's great to see him nerd out. It's like, you know that he's a big nerd, and it's great to see like the biggest nerd that you know be able to fulfill their dreams and being in a sci-fi episode and a franchise that they love. This is not aside from number one that you've seen before. She's like giddy over this dude and she can't really control herself. I thought that was, she's always serious. And so this is the most unserious that we've seen her.
My single favorite moment is when Spock and Una are lying about having kids. He says one of them is named Doug. And he goes, my name is also Doug. And Spock goes, that is a coincidence. Like,
that was also Henry Alonso Meyer's favorite moment. And I remember that was kind of the moment where I like, these guys know how to write comedy and how to trust their actors, because that could fall flat, but it's just so funny. And also when you find out, and I mentioned this to them too, because I hate when like there's a lie or a ruse in a comedy and the audience is like, yeah, they're obviously lying. How can the person not know they're lying? And so to know that like Doug is just sitting there kind of like, they're lying, but it's fascinating that they're lying. So I'm going to let the lie play,
Right.
just to kind of watch and go with it. And it's so much fun. And I also like, because I didn't really put this exact thought to it, but Dana was right. There's a sweetness between Patton and Rebecca, or Una and Doug, that really makes it work. I know there's like some talk on the Discord about how this is the classic trope of like attractive woman, maybe classically unattractive man, and they're definitely playing that by having the like really handsome guy in the frame, and then he walks out and reveals Doug. But like the way they play it is so sincere, it totally works.
And it fits because like you don't really control who you fall for. Right. Like everybody has had an instance where they're like, I did not expect to be so completely into this person, and I cannot stop thinking about them. So for me, it totally works.
And also because he's a Vulcan, so I can, there's definitely going to be some like exoticness there that she's probably attracted to. And I love how she like, he's a great gardener. Like I'm sure he is great at all these things that she loves about him. And I love that she lets her guard down and goes with him at the end. I'm so happy that's the resolution of their story.
And I think it works so well because she is more into him than he is into her. Like they do turn that trope on its head. It's like just the looks, the way she looks at him every scene they're in together. It's like, yep, she is selling this. Like Rebecca Romaine is earning her money here for the performance she's putting on. Like not saying that she wouldn't be attracted to Patton Oswalt, but it's like, damn. You want to learn how to look at somebody who you are uncontrollably infatuated with. That's how it looks.
I wonder if Jerry O'Connell was off screen the whole time to help her get there.
There you go. Yeah,
I'm glad that we asked the writers if they had considered O'Connell.
It's so funny because you had written
role.
that in the outline. I was like, I thought the same thing. It would have been hilarious if it was Jerry O'Connell she was obsessed with.
Yeah, and it would work, but I'm glad they went this way instead.
Yeah. And with Patton Oswalt, I'm glad they didn't tell him, or make him be totally Vulcan. Like they were like, no, be Patton Oswalt Vulcan,
Right.
and he is, and it's again a good balance.
Yeah, and again, it's showing not all Vulcans are alike. This episode is not saying all Vulcans are alike. That's clearly not the message of the episode. And I'm also glad it would have been easy for them not to do something with Una, right? To just, look, we have 4 characters who are acting Vulcan. Like, that's plenty for an episode. But I'm so glad they gave us this version of Una also not acting like herself in a completely different way for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
It's all chemical. It's all chemical. Too much chemistry.
So much chemistry. Well, we have some pretty good chemistry with our callers. Let's go ahead and hear from, let's hear from a new one. Here is Katrine joining us for the first time on the Open Pike Night stage.
Hi, Open Pike Gang. I enjoy your podcast so much that I'm gathering up all my courage to record this message for you. I loved this episode. I'm sure there will be fans who don't and who might criticize it for being too ridiculous. But I love that Strange New Worlds is so creative. Here are a few things that I loved. The gentle smile at Spock's face at the very end of the episode. I almost missed it because it was after the credits. In La'an's mind, I loved 2 things. A, catching a glimpse of the whales from cetacean ops in the background of the science lab. And B, how La'an and Spock went from fighting to dancing. I just love seeing these 2 dance together. I loved the conversation with Una, Spock and Doug in the port galley, especially Una's panicky line, "We have 2 children." And what followed after that. And of course, Pike's Vulcan hair, but I always love Pike's hair. And again, a different intro. Here's the creativity again. And just a short remark, I am always surprised when I hear German words like poltergeist in a Star Trek episode. I remember that there was a TNG episode where Picard said that word as well. Thank you so much for your podcast. Greetings from Germany, from Katrin.
Welcome to the stage.
Yeah.
That is
Thank you
wonderful.
for joining us.
And
we're all blushing.
Yeah, I'm glad that you summoned your courage. That is always apparently the biggest hurdle for folks to calling in is, am I going to want to hear my own voice on a recording? So I'm glad that you pushed through that because that is a great call. And yeah, I kind of somehow did not put together that poltergeist is a German word.
I've learned something.
It's so obviously a German word, but I had not considered that up until this point. So yeah, that's a really cool thing. And anybody who's watched a lot of DVD extras for, action movies has always heard, choreographing a fight is a lot like choreographing a dance. So to have both things in such close proximity to each other and then become one another in this episode was beautiful. I will be honest, I was like, what are we doing here? What is happening in this scene? It completely caught me off guard. And once I realized, oh, right, because they are dancing in real life together. This is her mind. He would use this intimate activity to kind of break through to her and get her to listen. The second time I watched this episode, I love that dancing fighting scene so much. I am very glad that we have such consummate professionals in Ethan Peck and Christina Chong to pull a scene like this off very well.
Yeah.
And Jordan Canning for directing it.
Absolutely.
Yes. We got to get her back.
Mm-hmm. We got to get her back for a lot of episodes. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, a lot of other callers had thoughts about the Law and Spock storyline, so let's hear what they had to say too.
And the fight dance was awesome and rather sexy too.
The dance fight was, I don't know how else to say it, breathtaking. And it was such a artful, sensual, sexy journey back to herself. Gorgeous.
Loved that she had the whales in her mindscape and that dance. I like watching them dance. I don't care what anyone else says, but I really like dance.
The music really needs extra credit because it does so much to buttress the energy.
First of all, was anyone paying attention to the music during the Spock and La'an fight scene? That was Giacchino level composition. I heard notes of TOS fight scenes that crescendoed and transitioned very beautifully and meshed perfectly with such great choreography, which turned an all-out brawl into a crazy romantic dance. How do you tell a story without words? It's right there. I could have watched that scene alone for hours. You guys didn't even know I liked music composition, did you? Well, music is math, folks, and numbers are beautiful to me.
Beautiful in the balletic dance and fight sequence between Spock and La'an.
So, some pretty big consensus for a divisive episode there.
Matt, I've been waiting for someone to bring up the music because the music in this episode is incredible. Nami Melumad deserves an Emmy for this one episode. She is doing so many different styles of music because, again, as the writer Dana pointed out to me, something I hadn't quite clicked on is all the different subplots are kind of slightly different genres of comedy. Mm-hmm. And so there's different music for almost every subplot through this. Like the La'an Kirk Scotty music is very different from the Una Doug music, which is very different from the Pike music. There's a theremin at one point, I think, on Ortegas after Boytegas and what's Vulcan or Hura called? We'll come up with something. Walk out. That I like. It's the only time I think I heard a theremin, and I was like, yes, please, more theremin. Let's see. She did the Guardians of the Galaxy walk song, I'm assuming, which was I think a very good I could hear that on a James Gunn soundtrack.
Yep.
The dance fight is amazing. The wacky Star Trek theme she uses at the end for the post-credit scene, it's like carnival version of the Star Trek theme.
Yeah.
is kind of mind-melting. Anyway, just all the love for the music.
Yeah. And I also like Matt said, telling a story without using words. That could have been a whole conversation. This was a talky episode. There were this was a nonstop talk episode. So it was good to see them not do that. I'm sure that was in the writing, but I bet there was a conversation written at some point. But have you noticed how many of the writers we've talked to who are like, oh yeah, originally this was an entirely different script.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right.
it's like, oh, that's another aspect of season 3 is the strike really upended a lot of the stories that were told. like there was a division line there. No Strike, season 3 of Strange New Worlds looks completely different than it does today.
Very different. And I've got a big theory I might share at the end of the season, guys. We'll save that. There's a tease.
Ooh.
But I have been meaning to say, because I remember after we got our first set of screeners and we were kind of talking about what season 3 is, and I was like, yeah, it's a lot more cohesive than the other seasons. Like, they're really setting like breadcrumbs throughout all the episodes to tie these big arcs, episode-long arcs together. And then the second half is very different. Mm-hmm. They're almost all very episodic episodes. Like, my wife has missed a couple, and I've been like, you know what, you don't need to watch the through the lens of time to understand any of the stuff that comes after it. You know, you don't need to watch What is Starfleet to understand this episode at all. Like, it took that aspect took a turn halfway through, and I'm not necessarily for better or worse, just something interesting I've noticed as we've continued watching the season.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think it's a good reinforcement of something I said a couple of episodes ago. Spock and La'an, more chemistry than Spock and anyone. Like,
yeah,
this was downright steamy. Like that first dance in Wedding Bell Blues was hot, but this was like, okay, they better yell cut at some point. Like, it was intense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know there was some talk about, ascribing her relation or genetic connection to Khan as being the reason for her Romulanness. And I agree, like, it's a little clunky how they incorporate that idea. Like, Spock saying it does give it some weight where you're like, well, wait, how would that work? Didn't she already learn that her genetics don't define her? And we don't want to, I don't know, maybe the genetic wars, they did infuse them with more aggression. I don't know. But I think that I think they just wanted to bring the idea up because this is La'an's story, right? We started with like, she's not sure she's ready. She's still trying to progress from where she came after coming through the Gorn thing, right? So she is still not sure if she's ready for a relationship. She still thinks all she can do is her job. She doesn't know if she can take that step into just giving herself fully to someone and letting those barriers down, right? She still has all these shields up with even in her relationship with Spock. So I think bringing in this idea that she still thinks she's a monster and isn't deserving of love, and then that's kind of what she's fighting and then dancing through in this end scene is worthwhile. Could they have introduced that idea a little less clunky? I think so, but overall, I think it works with her journey.
I also think it fits with Spock's experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know that this serum is somewhat experiential and subjective because he was doubting those same things about himself because on Vulcan, he was constantly told he wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that his parents clearly have a favorite, and it's Michael. Like, so yes, that was a weird thing, but like, I don't think we even needed that line because to me, this is La'an's personality turned up to 10. She's all about security. She's all about protocol. She is all about defense.
Mm-hmm.
So like taking that to the extreme would be, let's be proactive with our defense and take threats out before they can even come at us, you know, like
that's how I took it. Like if you give a security chief Vulcan logic, they become Romulans because that's what they're focused on. Like that's
right.
All how I took her evolution there. It's like, I didn't need more than that.
But getting the scene with her and Pike where they're both trying to say Romulan without saying Romulan, like, I mean,
so funny.
So well done.
The first time I saw it, I was like, wait, what did I just miss? Why is that? I'm like, oh, yeah. Those two do share two very unique experiences between Romulans and time travel. Like, that was a fun way to get them to be like,
yeah,
all right, I see you.
It took me a while to figure out what Pike was talking about. I was like, what? What did he? Oh, right. Okay, it took me a bit, but I got there.
And it's very much like, all right, you go do this how you do this, and I'll go do this how I would do this.
Yeah.
Like,
as you were.
I love that perversion of logic too, because like, you're the captain, Pike. You need to like nip this in the bud. But he's like, nope, we shouldn't know about each other. So logically, we should just pretend we don't know about that.
Right. And he like,
okay.
And you know, if he does know about Romulans, he will know it's dangerous to be a captain of a Romulan ship with an ambitious underling under you.
That's right.
All right, let's go ahead and hear from another caller. Here's our buddy Trev.
Hey, it's Trev beaming in from the Failure Franchise podcast. Sorry to say that a so far up and down season continues for me with what I sadly think is now my least favorite Strange New Worlds episode yet. I know they tried to hand wave it away with a single line from Una, but the idea of Spock's learned emotional suppression somehow being included in a serum that works on a DNA level just didn't hold up on a scientific, logical level for me, and still ultimately walked a little too close to the sort of problematic race science I was initially worried about. Trek should obviously be better than that. Plus, whether intentional or not, it seemed like this episode was making fun of Spock and Vulcans. Why does a serum that allegedly pulls from Spock's DNA and emotions make everyone else a total asshole? Because they're now total Vulcans? It felt to me like it was arguing that Spock's human side is the better, more valuable part of him. It just rubbed me wrong. On top of that, we also had the laughably out of place rock needle drop for the group walk down the hall, the silly interpretive dance resolution to inner mental conflict, Erica's Gorn trauma storyline that was so heavily set up at the end of episodes 2 and 3 once again ignored, even though they have time for seemingly every other character subplot every week. And for me, the Una Doug stuff felt more like a cringy 90s sitcom than it did the best sort of Trek humor, as seen in Lower Decks or even previous comedy episodes of SNW. What did I like? Everything with Kirk and Scotty. Yes, stopping by to visit Sam was the weakest excuse yet to once again shoehorn Kirk in, but I still loved seeing these two work together. And Wesley just keeps getting better and better at really capturing classic Kirk. So, hey, these are just my thoughts, and I'm truly glad others are enjoying it more. But for me, I really hope the next two really get back on track and send this season out on a high note.
Again, Kirk was there 100% for Lon, and everything else was just an excuse.
It's pretext.
Yes.
I do find that interesting, though, because, like, I spent so much time telling people, like, Wesley's not doing a Shatner impression. Like, he's doing the character, like, let it go. But he's kind of starting to let some of that Shatner leak into his performance.
There's some swagger.
Yep.
And it's working. Like, he's not going over the top with it. He's not really nailing that cadence, but he is giving pieces of the cadence. There are pauses that are a little bit longer than they should be in the way that he speaks, and it doesn't hit you in the face like a Shatner impression. It's really, really well done, and I gotta say, I'm really glad that people are starting to love Paul Wesley's Kirk.
Yeah,
I'm that person.
The
He's talking about me.
only pushback I will give you, Trev, is that the Spock's subjective experience part of this serum, yes, very completely hand-wavy, not scientific at all. But he does say Vulcans can be jerks. So if his perception of Vulcans being prone to being jerks is part of this serum, then yes, that is part of why everybody's a little bit of a jerk in this episode. I agree with you completely as far as the rest of your comments go, and like how that feels a little bit icky, but it is internally at least following its own rules, I think, for the most part. Hand wavy though they may be.
Very hand wavy.
I gotta say, I can see where Trev's coming from and where people who don't like this episode are coming from on every point he talks about.
Yes.
It'd be easy to say Trev just had to watch the Garbage Pail Kids movie for his podcast Failure Franchise, and so he's still suffering from those effects.
He
But
got
no,
the gift of watching the Garbage Pail Kids movie?
Oh, go listen to that episode. It's pretty fun coverage.
I bet.
But listen to all the episodes of our callers. They're all pretty damn good podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt mean. I mean, especially the transformation scene. Like, it's like, okay, they're piling it on real thick. And I don't know if it was, I get that it's like, yeah, this is farce. This is supposed to be ridiculous, over the top. It's like, yeah, it's over the top. All right. And Mbenga and Peli are both standing there. Not one of them says, hey, chill the fuck out, guys. Maybe go take a break for 5 minutes and we'll come back and try this again. Like, it's harsh, and to start the episode with a scene so harsh, I can see how it would really sour people for the rest of the episode. Like, this episode's going to take time for a lot of people to come around on. Yeah,
I mean, well, and I think a lot of people will not come around on it.
Yeah,
which is also totally cool.
It's comedy. And comedy is 100% subjective. Like, this is a comedy episode, and if the comedy doesn't work for you, 100% that's fine. not every Strange New Worlds comedy works for me. I kind of wanted to watch the Vulcan Body Swap trilogy before coming in here, and I did not have time to do it all because I wonder how some of them would play for me now, because Strange New Worlds always gets better for me on a rewatch. But I don't love Spock Amok. A lot of the comedy doesn't hit for me, and other people do, and that's great. So I can totally understand and respect it. This episode just clicks for me in a way that makes me happy. I will say, like, to the point about the meanness, watching again, I was like, this works because of Ethan Peck's and Spock's reactions to the meanness. Like,
yes.
His looks are what makes all of that work. And you're just realizing, like, oh, we're in Spock's mind. We're being put upon, he's reliving his childhood again. And that's what we are kind of experiencing in these moments. And I don't know, in a very funny way, because it's just exasperated Vulcan looks.
Well, and I'll cop to this. So in our Discord, we have a chat where we talk about the screeners after we watch them way ahead of time. And after episode 7, I told Cameron and John, this is going to be the most divisive episode of the season. Then I watched this episode, and I immediately went back into that chat and said, scratch that. Episode 8 will be the most divisive episode of the season.
I think you're right.
And having seen the rest of the season, I stand by that. This is going to be the one that people enjoy or do not enjoy and are least likely to change their minds about. Yeah. And I think that's good. I think it's cool.
Disagree. And I know we all, frequent different bubbles. So, our mileage varies, but I feel like a lot of people like this one. Now, there's some people who really don't like it, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that soon. But in general, I feel like maybe Space Adventure Hour was the more like 50-50 divisive episode.
I don't know. To me, I feel like I didn't see almost any negativity about that episode. But what I'm saying, Cam, is like in just this episode and in just our particular bubble, we have already had a caller say this is their new favorite episode and a caller say this is their least favorite episode.
Yeah.
And our bubble tends to be very forgiving of things that they're not, 100% on board for. So I think to have such a positive space, have people in it on both sides of the answer for this episode, to me, that's my indicator. Because, like I was saying last week, I have had to stop reading so much social media because it is difficult to read so much negativity about a thing that at the start you're really enjoying. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, to be able to make my notes and get through my regular day, I can't absorb that much negativity. That having been said, like I said before, I still think everybody should be listened to about this episode and how it makes them feel. And that's why I'm so grateful to have this show, because we get to hear directly from people about how they feel.
My feelings about this episode are definitely much more favorable now upon some rewatches and hearing the writer's episode. And it definitely makes me, I'm like, man, cannot wait to talk to Jordan Canning about this episode. So that transition, that rolls us nicely into what our callers thought about the discourse and what's being said about this. So here's what a few of them thought.
I know this one's been hotly debated ever since the preview screening was shown out of context last year. And I found myself on different viewings wrestling between my critical faculties and a willingness to explore, address, and learn about my own biases versus a recognition that I think this episode very early signals and carries all of the tropes of farce, and that with that comes a required suspension of disbelief.
I know this episode is going to be very controversial, but I enjoyed it. Didn't think about it too hard. I like a Vulcan hijinks episode. I think it's the weakest of the 3 they've done, but it was still fun, and I think we're going to be quoting this one for a long time.
I might swear like a sailor. And not about the ep so much, but just the discourse around it. But hey, your perspective is your perspective. I totally respect that.
I'm really glad that the point of the farce was brought up. I've seen a lot of folks compare this episode to Code of Honor. And I'm like, Code of Honor was very self-serious and thought it was being one thing, but was absolutely being another thing. Where this episode knows it's a farce and is playing as a farce the whole time. And farces are silly. They're ridiculous even. And I think that intent matters. Now, obviously, intent is not the same thing as the final product. And like I said before, anybody who was hurt by this episode or felt that it was, regressive in some way, I think that's a valid viewpoint, and we should listen to those people, and we should examine those viewpoints, as was mentioned in these calls, against our own biases. I think that's absolutely a thing you should do with Trek all the time. But I've also seen folks say, like, to tell people not to think too much about it is anti-intellectual. And it's like, I hear where you're coming from, but some people are using this as their escapism from the real world, right? Like, you cannot simultaneously demand that people watch it and experience it a certain way and be upset if that doesn't match up with yours. So I think this is a good opportunity to just say the discourse, although sometimes feels like a bad word with a capital D, is very important. And I'm really glad that we get to be part of it. And I'm glad that we're able to provide some context, at least, with the writer interview so you can hear about the intent and things like that. And I'm very interested to see, as I was saying, how this episode will be remembered and how it will be looked at in a couple of years' time. Will people change their minds about it? I don't know. I genuinely think a lot of people will not. And that's okay, because that happens in every Star Trek. But I'm very interested to see where the discourse goes over time for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important and valuable to put a intellectual lens to pop culture. I think that's a great tool to use pop culture to highlight whatever issue you want to talk about. Say, hey, does this hold up or does this not hold up? Mm-hmm. So viewing anything under certain lenses could or could not, be problematic. But I don't know if it's always fair to apply those lenses. And, I feel like sometimes a Vulcan is just a Vulcan and Spock is just Spock. And other times, what Star Trek has always done is use, and I feel like we had this same conversation with charades, is use these alien races not as the other, not as their own separate race, but as parts of ourselves, parts of humanity, right? And that's what Star Trek has always said, is like, and then as they've, evolved and made the races more realistic and world built them, they've come to represent more than just one thing. So Vulcans are our pursuit of knowledge and science. It's also our ability to be super egotistical and think we're better than everyone. It's our cold logic we sometimes apply. Klingons are sometimes our desire to be honorable and have meaning in our lives, and sometimes just our desire to be violent and vicious. And what Star Trek has always said is balance that. And it comes off as very, human-centric when it says, well, humans have figured out how to balance all that. But that's kind of what Star Trek has always used them for. So I think to then...
It's the lie it's always told. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's what this episode is clearly saying. It's like, yes, if you just go all the way this one way, you're going to be kind of a jerk. I don't think that's a hot take or controversial. And the only reason I feel compelled to say something is, like, I see a lot of people who have enjoyed this episode going like, is it okay that I enjoy this episode? Yes. Don't be out there yucking people's yum because you're viewing something through a very specific lens. Point it out. Again, great learning tool to talk about that issue, but to say the episode is objectively bad because you're viewing it through that lens, I don't think holds mustard here. I just said mustard, and I meant muster. But the D slipped out. But again, as we learned in last episode, like, we should always question things, like Beto was doing. We should always look and question, but have some grace for the fans who just want to sit back and enjoy something and laugh at a farce.
And we all know that with Cameron, the D always slips out. What do you got, John?
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been Open Pike Night.
Well, I think people are mainly comparing it to Code of Honor, because don't Spock and Lon use those spiky gloves in the fight in the end? Did I just imagine
that? It was the Jungle Gym. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He accidentally stabbed one of the whales and killed the whale in the audience.
Yeah. The whale caught the glove. And, oh, no. That's why there's no cetacean hops. Anyway, about the discourse. No, it is like Cameron said, Like, feel the way you're going to feel. That's great. Maybe investigate how much you're feeling it. You know, this episode just came out. If you're listening to our podcast right now in a year, in 2026, and you're still feeling this strongly about this episode of this space TV show, maybe investigate that too. That, like, just find some balance. And, you know, this is not my favorite episode of Strange New Worlds. I don't think it's a bad episode. It's just not my favorite, but I do like it better now than when I saw it the first time, because I went back and re-examined it and I learned more about it. And that's kind of all you can try and do.
It's my second favorite of the season because I laugh the whole way through every time I watch it, and it makes me smile. And then there's a really cool fight dance at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will acknowledge out loud, yes, we are three cishet white guys of a very certain age.
Yeah.
Like, we're not pretending that we have some kind of, you know, higher view of this or like some better understanding of it. Absolutely, we are not.
We just want to be part of the discourse.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it has a capital D.
Especially.
That always slips out.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from our last individual caller tonight. Here is Sarah.
Hi, Open Pike. This is Sarah/Doug from Ireland. That episode was a delight. As long as I can suspend the, biology is not culture, guys. But it was played for laughs, and I just put my understanding in a box. The standout for me was the Kirk and Scotty bromance. The beginning, that was just wonderful to see those two characters just bounce off each other and learn a bit about each other and understand, hey, I can work with this guy. And it was lovely to see Scotty light up on the inside and start to think, actually, this is the kind of captain who gives you confidence. He's going to let you push everything to the limit, and he's going to back you all the way. And that was lovely to see Scotty sort of start to think, I can really get this guy. That was the standout for me. Everything else was fun, but Scotty, Kirk, I'm there for that bromance. Give me more of that. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
So good.
Sarah, very good call. And you kind of brought up something that I hadn't realized. I realized earlier that this was a continuation of the dynamic that we saw between Scott and Kirk in the 6th episode. But also, this is Kirk giving Scotty the leeway that he demanded from Scotty in that episode. That is brilliant. He's completely backing him because the last time they were in a tough situation, he demanded that Scotty completely get behind his plan. So he's showing like, hey, look, I have empathy. I've learned that empathy lesson. I'm working on exercising that empathy muscle that Pike talked about. Brilliant point, Sarah. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, and a good highlight of the different viewpoints of this episode. Like, it's a complex episode. It's a hilarious episode. And, it's funny. There are little moments that I remember because people have mentioned Sam Kirk a couple times. Like, yeah, it was a bummer not to see Sam Kirk, but I did like the little scene that it really kind of disappears. The opening scene of La'an and Una talking, and then her kind of dressing Spock down when he goes to chat, and the anxiety over him moving stuff into her quarters and stuff like that. That was a fun little, just kicking off the Doug storyline and things like that. It was a good callback all the way back to season 1, episode 5, to Spock Amok, with Una wanting to stay on the ship for shore leave. So it is fun to see how well this tapestry is woven. So.
I also like that we are seeing the difference between how La'an handles a relationship and how Chapel handles a relationship.
Yeah.
And Una.
But Chapel would have said, don't move your stuff into my quarters.
Yeah.
We're not there.
Yeah.
Right? But La'an is like, I need to do some introspection. I need to think about this. I need to talk to my friend about it. I need to ask, hey, am I reading this wrong or too intensely? This is a normal thing couples do, right? Is it okay to call us a couple? It felt very realistic for a sci-fi show to have a character go ask their friend, like, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah, especially because I can picture Jordan Canning giving Ethan Peck the direction. Now go sit down and eat with the most vacant expression on your face.
Those
possible.
shots. I mean, it's almost funnier than anything that happens with the farcical hijinks. Like just him sitting there and eating by himself.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, how does Jordan Canning frame a shot that's just hilarious?
Yeah, just him sitting down eating food, and I was already laughing a minute into the episode. So, yeah,
and it's like a mirror of the Vulcan Bros scene where she's like, "Oh, they're loving this," and Mbenga's like, "Are you kidding me? They hate each other. Can't you tell that?" Like, it was. I mean, to have Spock be the center of both of those scenes was brilliant. It was very well done. I loved it.
Yeah. So before we hear what our callers thought about this episode overall with our reviews, you guys got any last little bits and pieces here?
Just that bemused observer Mbenga is probably my favorite Mbenga. I mean, I know he's a very complex, deep character, but when he's just like going along with Chapel's experiments, or just like, this is crazy, I'm just gonna hang out and watch with like a little smile. I don't know. It's so funny. He's such a great straight man that way.
Yes. I did have a note earlier I wanted to mention, like, I do like that each Vulcan had their handler too.
Yeah.
Like it was, you had your Kirk and Scotty, you had your Mbenga. I wish we could have seen more of the Mbenga Chapel handling or, at the post transition back.
Uhura Beto, I could have loved to have seen more of that too.
Yes. Yeah. And just like, yep, you lost control of your Vulcan, and now you are also mind melded with this Vulcan. Like the different ways the handlers took care of their Vulcans.
Well, Erica was
very
the handler
fun to
there,
watch.
and I could have seen more of
that's
that
true.
too. For
that's
sure.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like your point, Cam, about Mbenga because, like, to me, this is part of what makes him the most three-dimensional character on the show, because it's like, the dude has tons of baggage, right? Like, he's paying for the extra checked bag on every flight that he goes on, but he's still able to, like, have these little moments of light humor and, like, there are big stakes here, and he still is like, this is ridiculous, and all you can do is smile.
Because he's like, I've seen
he's
some
a complete
shit.
person.
This is nothing, guys.
Yeah.
Whatever happens here is fine. All right.
Yeah.
This is going to be fine.
And I didn't have anywhere to fit it in, but Michelle, of course, did send a Crusher Connection talking about how Beverly would have to transform people for different missions and stuff like that. And it kind of struck me, if you look at Mbenga and you look at McCoy, it's like, oh, Mbenga is so much more down to clown with like, hey, you want to try a weird thing? It's like, yes, I do, absolutely, and I'm going to laugh about it the whole time.
Yeah.
McCoy is much more like, no, you can't do that. We got to do this the right way.
McCoy is like, I need to go sleep. Like, I don't
exactly.
Deal with this right now.
I'm so tired.
And get a drink.
Yeah. Mbenga's like, I have slug, slime, toxin, and crystals. Let's stick it on their foreheads and see what happens.
I'm not a parent anymore. I've got free time out the ears.
Exactly. Pretty much. Yes. Like more and more, it's like, oh, Mbenga won't say no to anything, will he?
Anything to make the pain stop. Let me feel something else.
Up to this point, you could almost read the season as an Mbenga season.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
It's about his journey to deciding, like, no, I don't want to be CMO anymore. That's way too much work.
There's a lot going on,
So, caller Lucy did also, in our Discord, which is a place you should join if you like talking about Star Trek with open-minded fans, said, hey, OPN team, as a footnote to my submission, please give kudos to Bernadette Croft on all costumes, La'an's outfit, and the deltas on the boxing gear. I agree completely. Like, those tiny little details, like, we've made comments before about how Starfleet's really into branding, right? But it's like, those details make it feel like a real world, and I really appreciate that. And yes, absolute shout out to Bernadette Croft. We are working so hard to get her back, I promise, but she is very busy because the work that she and her team do takes so much time, and it starts before the season even hits production. So we're working on it. We feel confident that it will happen. We just can't really tell you when yet because we don't know
Once
yet.
season 5 is done filming, I'm hoping we're going to get a lot of people coming on talking about stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of post Open Pike Night, post Strange New Worlds Open Pike Night episodes, and we're going to keep sharing all this cool behind the scenes information with everybody. But yeah, you guys want to hear what our callers thought about this episode?
Let's hear their verdicts.
Giggles this time. Damn it, the whole episode. I can't even pick one. It was great. Palladium 3, signing off.
I know there's a lot of problems with when you think about parts of this episode, but you know what? Sometimes you just want a little bit of fun. And that's what this one was for me.
And in the end, I think the episode was funny, intriguing.
But I did take issue with the premise of the episode. It kind of left me feeling a bit uncomfortable. And I listened to the writer's interview that you did, which those have been great, by the way. And so I understand where they're coming from and that this wasn't their intention, but at the end of the day, it still left a bad taste in my mouth and kind of took away some of my enjoyment of the episode. And my issue is this. 4 humans that we know very well were injected with the serum and immediately became the worst stereotypical Vulcans ever. Like, we're talking Enterprise Archer era Vulcans. And yeah, kind of racist, because they didn't just make a faux pas or say the wrong thing here and there. They were consistently awful, and all 4 of them. And, you know, this is a learned behavior. So I had some issue with the genetic aspect.
I love this episode. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely my comfort episode from this season.
New favourite episode. Oh gosh, what an episode. There's actually too much to say what I loved.
From seeing that clip in the teaser, I did have some preconceptions. Had no clue that it was going to be a comedy. Turns out that this episode was so much fun for me. Being turned Vulcan brought out, well, fascinating aspects of their personalities.
It was just so good. I really, really loved it.
Overall, I love this episode. Can't wait for the rewatch once the season is over.
This whole episode is the Star Trek equivalent of nitrous oxide. It is fucking laughing gas from start to finish. I couldn't stop giggling, cackling, and screaming, "What?" at the screen.
So, this episode has me giggling again. And it started so great with Chris in workout clothes being smashed by Marie. I love it so much. I love Vulcans. I really, really do. I have a Vulcan tattoo on my arm, after all.
I am definitely ready for the next episodes to please take us somewhere a little more serious.
That's all I'm going to say. I guess I'm a monster for having enjoyed the ep. So until next time, I will chill out. I'm out.
4.5 Vulcan was a very delightful episode. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was exactly what we need, especially after the last 2 very serious episodes that we've had.
I really needed this hijinks episode this week. It's been so long since the teaser was released, I forgot about this one, which is great because I love surprise hijinks.
I can understand the critics of the episode a little. It is not a serious episode with any serious plot points, but I don't think it was meant to be. And there are so many sweet character moments from nearly everyone throughout the episode. And then the 42-minute shifts, so much fun. And a nice wink to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And in the end, though, I came down in its favour because I think the explanation and setup worked.
It's interesting because I feel like Strange New Worlds has just gotten better and better with the comedy episodes from season to season. Like, honestly, I thought they hit their stride with these ones, and both Wedding Bell Blues and this are so good for me. They're just my favorite ones of the season. I also love how, like, I feel this episode is almost like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, playing with the trope of Star Trek. Hey, we got a shore leave episode. Nope, we're all going to stay on the ship now. Like, It almost felt like a joke when they said that, where I'm like, oh yeah, Star Trek does that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't come down. I mean, I know that often I come down as whatever episode I just saw is my new favorite episode. I can't say that here. I think the second season Vulcan hijinks episode is my personal favorite Vulcan hijinks episode. But that's not to say that I hated this episode, obviously. I still had a good time watching it. I did raise my eyebrow, which is, I think, appropriate for a Vulcan episode. And I completely hear where all the criticisms are coming from. I think most of them are fair criticisms. But for me, it was an enjoyable thing. So I'm right there with you on being a monster who enjoyed the episode. But I
can you please say that as Lon though?
Monster who enjoyed the episode. But I agreed with you. Yes, it's important to hear the other opinions and examine them because, I mean, that's really a big part of the Trekkie fandom. So I'm not going to sit here and say my final reading on this is this way and I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'll be thinking about this episode for a long time, which I think is also a good sign because you don't want an episode to happen and then you completely write it off and think to yourself, I'm never going to watch that again. But also, I think my comfort episode from this season might be Wedding Bell Blues. Like, the more I think about that episode, the more I'm like, I had just a ton of fun with that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it will settle on as most people's comfort episode.
It's got a lightness and bounce to it. This one doesn't quite have. Maybe it's just the song at the end, but yeah.
And like I said, I have grown to like this episode more. I'm choosing to internalize the parts of it that I don't like and be like, well, don't be like them. Don't be like that to other people.
Right.
Like if there's something about something you don't like or something I don't like, it's like, well, then obviously that's not who I want to be or how I want to act. So I'll take it that way. But man, like you said, Jesse, I'm going to be thinking about this episode for a long time. I will rewatch this episode more than I will rewatch some other episodes in this season because, damn, for the parts that I'm not comfortable with, the rest is hilarious, and it's so well done.
I might just make a supercut of the La'an subplot and just watch that. And maybe
so
add
funny.
some more stuff. What would happen if she didn't get turned back? I want to see that.
Well, I believe it's time for us to pick our songs for this episode. If you're a first-time listener here, we have started a new tradition where we pick one song that we feel best exemplifies the episode of Strange New Worlds we just discussed. I believe, Cam, it's your turn to start this week.
Yeah, I struggled with this. I was looking for a lot of songs that either talked about being human or being alien, and none of them quite worked thematically or tonally. And I was just thinking, I fell on picking a song for one subplot, and that is Una and Doug's subplot, because there's just so much happening there. She said too much chemistry. Her heart sweats, her body shakes. Another kiss is what it takes. She'd like to think that she's immune to the stuff. It's closer to the truth to say she can't get enough. You know she's going to have to face it. She's addicted to Doug. So Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love with some slight tweaks to be addicted to Doug. Doug.
I like it.
I mean, you could have gone Addicted to Spuds by Weird Al.
And then change that. I think that might have been a bit more of a stretch, but we'll do both. We'll put it up for a poll.
But it's a comedy episode, and it's a comedy song about potatoes.
True. And potatoes have eyes.
No, I like your pick.
And
I like your pick.
Una's eyes are on point this episode.
And they can be used in soup.
That's right.
So, you know.
Okay, I'm seeing connections. I'm
Exactly.
digging your Spuds. Addicted to Doug. That's my choice.
Well, for my pick this week, I went with, I ended up going with a song that when we first saw the teaser, I immediately popped into my head as to whatever it was they were, not playing, but making the song, the walk down the hallway sound like. Mm-hmm. I started reading through the lyrics. I'm like, man, usually I pick one character or one storyline, but there's lyrics in this song for just about everybody. So, Until There Was You, We Didn't Know What to Do. That's Chapel talking to Spock about the serum. Like, hey, he's the solution to this problem at the opening. We didn't know it was going to be solved in 3 minutes, but it is. It's just a modest proposal from a boy antisocial, Spock approaching La'an and dealing with Doug. He's still Spock. He's still a Vulcan. He's still out of place, and this episode has got him feeling more out of place. Scraping the skin of our culture, civilized vulture, do me in, don't make me sin. I'm doing so good I can't go through it again. The 4 Vulcans, they're not changing back. They like being Vulcans. They like who they are. And
are you waiting for us to recognize it?
No, it's not. It's not a song. Anyway, I could go on and on. This song is hilarious. Hilarious how much it can be attributed to this episode. The song is Stick 'Em Up by Karashai. It is, and it just, you start playing it, you're like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely right in the same vein as the walk down the hallway music. And yeah, I've loved this song for, God, I can't remember how long it's been out, almost 20 years. But yeah,
I look forward to hearing it in the edit.
Yeah, it's a song I don't think people would expect me to like, but I've always enjoyed it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a week, I don't know, to pick my song. So I started with a Tool song called 46 and 2, which is about overcoming who you know yourself to be, trying to evolve as a person, trying to let things go, trying to let old things not influence you anymore. I honestly thought about Calm Like a Bomb because it seems to fit how these Vulcans are played. Like, they're all on the surface very calm, but they are completely ready to explode, some more than others.
They're exploding their lives.
But there's something that John said over the course of our discussion that really hit me, and I'm picking a song that is older than 20 years, John.
Ooh.
Yes, it does happen sometimes. And it has lyrics like, "The last time I felt as sick and contradictive as this was the last time we played a show in Cincy. Get real, they tell me, if only they knew how real this life really gets." And then the chorus, for me, comes straight from Spock's heart. "In the days of kings and queens, I was a jester. Treat me like a god or they treat me like a leper. You've seen me move back and forth between both. I'm trying to find a balance. I'm trying to build a balance." This song is called Trying to Find a Balance by Atmosphere from the album Seven's Travels.
Open that trunk and get those amps, you know? Days of kings and queens, I was a jester. Treat me like a god or they treat me like a leper. You see me move back and forth between both. I'm trying to find a balance. I'm trying to build a balance.
One of my favorite songs of all time. I've seen Atmosphere live at Red Rocks. It was amazing. If you don't like Atmosphere or have never heard of Atmosphere, start here with this song and then go from there.
Excellent.
Right. Do they happen to spell the end of their name with F-E-A-R?
No.
So,
it is not a metal song in much the way that this episode has a very specific genre. I have chosen to go outside of my normal genre.
Wow.
This is a full-on rap song, gentlemen.
Okay. Mine falls somewhere between those two.
Mine's Robert Palmer.
I'll probably enjoy John's song too, because I'm one of those people that was like, why are you using new metal as a derogatory? That's the best kind of metal.
Right. I mean, come on. Like Battelle talking to Pike and Basal, slice through the scene like a knife through peanut butter, get your ears cleaned out, motherfucker. I didn't stutter. I mean, come on.
Gold.
Here for it.
Gold. Hey guys, I feel like this episode represents the most countries that have called in.
It might.
Especially with Melanie currently in Egypt. I think that brings the number of countries represented to 6. I could be wrong.
Wow.
I think 6 is right.
Anyways, I thought that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, really cool to hear that many diverse viewpoints on an episode that is all about that. And John, should I tell people how to call in? Like,
I hate to tell you, but our good buddy Platty and some other Open Pike Night callers are in the process of recording outros.
What?
They're just putting you out of a job here. So let's go ahead and hear what Platty has to say.
Hey there, Open Pike Night listeners. It's Platty M3 here. Have you ever given any thought to becoming an Open Pike Night caller? The easiest way to do that is to go to openpike.com. You can record your call right there on the page. All you need is a phone. But if you need a little more editing time and you want to cut those breaths, speed it up to 105% just to slide in under that 90-second cutoff, hey, we've all been there, done that. You can do that in your favorite audio suite and send that MP3 to openpike@gmail.com. Of course, if you want to hang out with the Open Pike Night crew, they can be found on pretty much every social media platform at Open Pike. But if you want to hang out with me and many of the other wonderful listeners and callers, oh, and yeah, the Open Pike Night crew is there too, look up their Discord. It's a Trek-positive place to hang out with some of the nicest people you've ever met online, despite our individual feelings on episodes. You can find that link right on openpike.com as well. Finally, if you're all caught up on Open Pike Night episodes and are fine just tossing Jesse aside, but still need more Cameron and producer John in your life, you should check out their other podcast, Green Shirt, A Newbie's Trek Through the Next Generation. Although the show name is now completely a misnomer, you can hear Cameron experience TNG-related content for the first time, along with producer John, Rob, and Bobby. They have finished all of TNG and the movies, but after a brief summer separation, they are continuing on with their mini Deep Space Nine episodes and plowing Saucer Section first into Star Trek Picard. Good luck with that one.
All right, here are my hits, shits, and misses for Platty's outro read. Hits. No, I'm kidding, Platty. That was very well done, and
So
thank
great.
you as always for supporting us and helping us make our show, man. Anytime there's less work for one of us, that is a beautiful thing. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for proving that shame can work when I shamed you into including Green Shirt. It was beautiful. I'm glad I did.
And thank you again to all of our callers. Thank you to our amazing patrons who support us. Please consider supporting. There's even a $2 level on Patreon where you can help Open Pike Night cover our costs for producing and putting these episodes out for you. And man, I got to say, I love our community and I love our callers.
Speaking of the Patreon, if you do jump on for $2, even just for a month, you can hear Jesse and I at Star Trek Las Vegas, joined by Alice Wetterlin, with our panel there. It just went up, so it's free to the viewing. Well, not free, but you know it. Jesse, take over.
It's
Thank you.
available. And there will be...
It's available on the Patreon main feed, yes.
Yes, and there will be more things coming on that Patreon feed, especially as the season winds down. We're working on a lot of stuff that we think would be fun, so when something new goes up onto the Patreon, if you are there, let us know what you think about it. Do you want more of it? Do you want less of it? Do you want something very specific? We really would love to give you a lot of value for every dollar that you pour into this show, which helps to keep it free. We don't have mattress ads. We don't have ads for Squarespace.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that we don't do that. So please help us keep not doing that. You're right. This is difficult,
Yeah.
Cam.
And it has been a long night, and the Open Pike Night crew has to go. Man, we got to clean up after so many crew members. Can you believe the shit they got into? So please be sure to clean up after yourselves. Be sure to tip your servers. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.
That is technically logical.